Hello, this is a tutorial for the installation of the Unity To Godot Exporter. First, let's get ourselves a nice asset pack, like the Cinti assets. Okay, so the first thing is to unpack the Unity To Godot archive and put it inside our Unity project. After it's inside the project, it will load some dependent packages required for its compilation. Just wait for these to install. Afterwards, you get a new menu in the Unity toolbar, Unity To Godot. Select Unity To Godot Export. There's a few options here, but we'll get back to them later. Hit Export. Okay, now the export is finished. Now open Godot. And wait for the assets to import. Next, open the exported level, demo. And this is it. Materials, textures, lights look very similar to the Unity level. Now let's go back and talk about a few issues and options. The export options. Export folder. The place where the Godot project will be generated and the exported assets will be placed. Export terrain. This will export the Unity terrain component by first converting it to a static mesh. Rescale terrain height map. Depending on your terrain complexity, the triangles of a terrain can get to millions. So if you want a much simpler terrain or want your export to finish in time, it's recommended to turn this on. If, however, you find that the terrain looks low res or doesn't match with your assets due to resizing, you should leave this off. Also, if the terrain has too many triangles, when Unity imports it as a static mesh, it may hang, or at least it doesn't finish in like 30 minutes. Max terrain triangles. It's only relevant when rescale terrain height map is on. It limits the amount of triangles when resizing. Export terrain trees. This will export the terrain components tree instances. Export terrain details. This will export the terrain components grass instances. Convert skin to static. This will convert skin meshes to static meshes. This exists because the GLTF exporter does not support animations. So if you export them as static meshes, you may be able to manage them way easier. Export vertex shaders. When a material contains a shader graph, it usually has a pixel shader, but may also have a vertex shader. It's usually fine to leave this on, but if for some reason the vertex animation doesn't work or you don't want the effect of that animation, you can turn this off. Embed textures in GLB. If turned on and the mesh is using a standard material, all the material's textures will be embedded into the GLB. If this is off, textures are placed outside the GLB and material textures exist only once. If you choose to turn this on, take note that Godot import times can be extreme, as every mesh can potentially have duplicate textures. Point, spot, and directional light multipliers. These are exposed to help you easily convert all light intensities to Godot. If you find that the exported light intensities are too small or too high, you should try changing these. Godot wants lumens in the tens to 100,000 range, when even though in Unity they look fine in the 10 to 100 range. So if they look wrong in Godot, try to see what range looks right, get the ratio between that and the original, and put the value for spot and point lights. Directional lights rarely need tuning. In case you have an issue with the exporter, just contact me by email and I'll try to solve it. If you like the exporter, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks.